going to talk with Evan Tinstman about courage, and then later on Mariela will join us too. But first, let's invite Evan. And there he is. Hello, Evan. Good to see you.
Hi, how are you? You too. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. So can you hear me correctly? Because I'm using other headphones than normal.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, that's good. I don't know if you can see it, but actually they are right in front of my ear. So these are bone conductors. So they're not in my ear.
You know what? I just saw an advertisement for those. I wondered what they were.
Yeah, they are from Aftershocks, and this is the Aero Packs. So what they do is they transfer the sound without going straight into your ear. And my eardrum, especially on the left side, is a little bit shattered. And it works really nice. It's true. You know, at first I'm like, what am I wearing? And then after a while, you just keep forgetting. The only thing I haven't figured out is how to turn them off without using Bluetooth.
That's funny. Yeah, I'll have to definitely check those out because I've played the drums my whole life, so my left ear has got some issues.
Okay, well, I recently used it on my feed drums. So I have the feed drums over the speakers, the Roland feed drums, and I did put in earplugs, and so I could actually hear it over the monitors, so that was good, and I could also hear the music on the headset. It's just that the bass is sort of missing, so it works better than listening to the drum kit with earphones on.
Right.
So yeah, it does work for me. It's just a little bit like, okay, but it could be an option. So do you have an acoustic drum set or an electronic version?
Acoustic.
Okay, cool. And how long have you been playing the drums?
I think I was 10, so 36 years.
Oh, that's so cool. And you've been playing ever since you were 10 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, not so much the last couple years. But when I do, it was just kind of like put some earphones on, put things out, and just kind of play more for therapy.
Okay, cool. Well, actually, when I was about 24, I needed to do it for therapy too. I had these problems with my wrist. I had repetitive strain injury, and I always wanted to play drums. Let's be clear about it. My parents, not so much. They didn't want me to play drums. But then my physical therapist said, you need to train those wrists again. And that's when I started playing drums. So back then, they told me that if I put this rubber mat on the acoustic kit, that it would dampen enough for the neighbors not to hear it. And I didn't realize, so I didn't live in a concrete building. We had these wooden floors in between the ceiling and the floor.
So your neighbors loved you.
Yes, exactly. At first, they thought it was fun because, I started playing and they could hear the difference. It was only like 15 minutes and then not so much anymore. So my father helped me isolate a room, and so, and then later on, of course, I transferred to an electronic kit, and so now it's in the attic, on a place where I can play in the middle of the night. Had it not been that someone lives in my house at the moment, but that's a long story, and she can't. She has a problem with all the vibrations. Long story, not going to go into it, and that's combined with, I don't know if you know that I've been having for a lot of years have had trouble walking and also playing drums because of my ankle. Don't know if you ever heard that story.
No.
But my ligament on the inside of my left ankle had been torn, and the tendon kept popping out. And two bones, and there's a bone under the arch of the foot, and in my case, or in 7% of the population actually, It split in two, and the tendon was attached to it, and it shifted like this much. So, well, you can imagine if it keeps shifting like this and popping in and out, try and use the hi-hat.
Right,
That's virtually impossible. And just keeping
right,
your balance.
right,
That's, I mean, if you use both hands and both feet, and
right.
yeah, so, but so have you been on stage?
Yeah, a few times. Yeah, not
Oh, cool.
nothing not formal, but yeah.
So when it comes to courage, because one of the reasons I never went on stage behind a drum kit is because I was like, okay, if I'm solo, playing on my own, that's okay. If I play the piano when my mom was still alive with my mom, still okay. But as a drummer, you're the backbone of everyone else, of the entire group. And for me, that was like a mental no-go. So,
You know what I tell everybody that says that about like the hesitancy of playing the drums? I'm like, you can't buy sheet music for what you're going to play on stage or, whatever your flavor of music is, unless it's something specific with sheet music. But if you want to play something, your favorite band, you can't go buy that music. You just kind of have to listen to it, figure it out. And you never play a song the same way twice. So I tell people, if you make a mistake, most people don't know that you make a mistake unless you pause when you make a mistake. So I always say,
true.
like, if you screw up a little bit, all you have to do, crash a
Keep
cymbal, take a
going.
pause, and get right back into your groove. So nobody knows when you screw up on the drums.
Yeah, that's what my mom always told me when I was still playing the piano because I was 3 years old. And then she taught me how to play the piano. And she always said, keep going. Don't let anyone know that you don't know where you are. Just keep going.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm not afraid to play piano for public, even though I'm not going to say it's equally as good as playing the drums, although they're different instruments. But the playing the drums, just the idea that I had to be that backbone. But then I talked to a lot of other people who are in metal and the black
Hmm.
metal and the speed metal, and they use actually a click on their
Yeah.
earphones.
Hmm.
And then I said, okay, so how does that work when you change rhythms? But apparently you
Hmm.
can program that, so the
Right.
rhythms get changed.
Right.
But you don't use a click, I suppose.
No. No.
Yeah.
I'm more of a classic rock drummer. I grew up in the 1980s, early 90s, so it's kind of you know, um,
Yes, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi.
that genre. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the older I get, when I do, I'm a little bit more mellow now. My biggest, I wish, and it's on my list, I would like to do, I just, maybe one day, I would really like to take some formal lessons on jazz because I'm not like a technical drummer.
Hmm.
And at this stage, I kind of have an interest in that. So that's kind of on my one day list, that I would like to get more technical.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Okay. Cool. Well,
yeah.
jazz. I've played every genre because I was allowed to play anything but double bass drum. So I played the blues, all sorts of, the salsa and all that stuff. I learned to play that as well. African rhythms, I had to play that too.
Hmm.
So basically percussion on drums.
Hmm.
But jazz was for me was a no-go because I don't know, you have to hold back sort of,
Right.
especially when you use those brushes and all.
Lot
And
lot of
I'm not,
lot of offbeats.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's was something I totally didn't like. So I like playing the blues. I love
Yeah.
playing the blues. I love playing funk, but no jazz, please, no jazz for me.
Well, I started playing a double bass from day one. So
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
anyway.
Yeah, no, my drumming teacher, he said, no, you're not going to. It's not allowed. So up till this day, I can sort of play double bass, but that's about it. But yeah, oh, that's funny. I didn't know. So you're probably, if you grow up around the 80s, I'm from 71. So from which year are you?
I was born in 75.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm a little bit older than you are. Yeah. Well, makes sense.
Yeah,
So
close
cool.
enough though.
Yeah. I remember back in the days that in 84, 83,
Hmm.
that's when we got satellite television, and then we had the Sky Channel
Yeah,
and the music box and Mick Wall. Do you remember?
I do. I do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so.
we're like the only generation that knows life before technology and after
Uh-huh.
technology, and that's
Yes.
kind of an advantage that we have. So
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree.
yeah,
So we can use the technology, but we also know that one day it didn't exist. And,
right,
I never would have dreamed in a million years that right now we would be talking to one another on opposite sides of the
right.
planet.
There's some really, really. Where are you?
I'm in the Netherlands, so I'm across the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay, okay.
So you're in the US or are you in Canada?
I'm in the U.S. I'm about an hour north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
East Coast. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Well, I've been to Florida multiple times and California a couple of times, San Diego and that area.
hmm.
Basically where you can find Ben and Burchard, Phoenix.
Yeah,
We've
yeah, yeah,
gone
yeah.
to Phoenix a lot of times too. And I've got friends living in Florida, so that's why I go to Florida on the where the Keys are.
Yeah.
So
The only place I've been across the Atlantic, I've been to Italy, Croatia, and Montenegro.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm a little more
Yeah.
down south, I suppose. Well, no,
Hmm.
not compared to Italy. I'm above Italy, more to the
Right.
left. That's it.
Right. Right.
So cool, cool. Okay, so courage. We already started to talk a little bit about courage,
Hmm.
and um, when we were talking about it, I told you I would really love to have you on my show I have on Wednesdays, which is about
Hmm.
speaking out.
Sure.
And the purpose of that show is it's for people who do not dare to speak out. So what I do is I give people a voice. I teach them
Right.
how to communicate better, understand people better, find out how they come across and what people actually mean when they say something to them.
Right.
And also that it's okay to actually say what it is you want or need.
Right.
Um, and
And that's hard to
also,
do for a lot of people.
yes, exactly,
Right.
exactly. And I believe, from what I've seen, is that if people don't speak up or don't speak out, that they bottle everything up inside, they hold it
Right.
inside, and they usually start to numb themselves, hurting themselves in the process, and in the long run, possibly harming others as well.
Right.
So,
So I actually had something very interesting happen in a good way today. I'm kind of excited. For those who don't know my story, despite having successes, I became a severe alcohol. I had an addiction. I was an
mhm,
alcoholic, and for about 5 years, and destroyed absolutely everything in my life: business, relationships, friendships, my health, like just everything you could think of, I did. And so, courage for me is actually very easy because people say, "What's the hardest thing you ever did?" And I simply respond by saying, admitting that I needed help.
yes,
That's a very hard thing to do. And my life's mission now is to try to help people from making the mistakes I did, or if they've already made those mistakes, to help them um, to move forward, to show them that it's possible. Like, you're never too old and it's never too late. You can start over. You can rebuild. It's a slow, arduous process, but it's very doable and possible. So privately, I don't do this online. I've helped 8 people reach sobriety. Um, the newest one is probably about a year sober now.
hmm
One actually died, which was hard. Like, he got sober, he had heart damage from the alcohol, and he died. But I had someone reach out to me a couple of weeks ago about a family member, and it's been very hard because he's deep in it, um, defiant, just the worst that alcohol or addiction does to you. And after 2 weeks of talking, changing, visiting, working with family, actually got him to check into rehab this morning. So it's kind of
Cool.
it's a good day. You know, I get more of I feel more of a victory doing that than than closing any deal in my business. Like it gives you something that you can't quantify.
Hmm.
So using my story of courage and trying to show it with other people that they can do it too, you know,
Yes.
and that's the whole reason I decided to train for this triathlon next year. Um, Almost 5 years ago, I mean, I'm tall, I'm about 6'3", but I was 267 pounds. I was out of shape. I couldn't breathe. I was struggling to even walk a mile. Well, now here I am. I weighed myself this morning. I'm 200.5 pounds. So I've lost 67 pounds. I'll be
Wow.
47. And now I'm training to do, you know, one of the hardest endurance sports out there. One, I'm doing it to see if I can do it. That's courage because I could fail and embarrass myself because I've been vocal that, hey, I'm going to do this, but also to show other people like, hey, if I was that bad 5 years ago and now here I am turning the corner towards 50 and I can do this, yes, it's a process. Yes, it took time, but yes, you can do it too, you
Yes.
know? And what I tell people is, and everyone's like, oh, thank you. What can I do? I'm like, no, you don't do anything for me. You pay it forward to the next person because when you put yourself out there to other people and you become vocal, well, now you have to hold yourself to a higher standard because now you don't want to fail in front of them. So paying
Yes.
it forward actually helps to enforce. So I think the world, I don't know why courage is such it's a word that's thrown around a lot, but I don't think people truly grasp what it means and of doing something difficult, you know, something
Hmm.
that the odds might be against you. And I personally believe that people have the ability to be and act a lot more courageous, but that fear of judgment or failure holds them back. More importantly, because they have a fear of change and they don't know what that change is going to be, good or bad. So they just kind of stay where they're at, even if it's
Yeah.
bad. At least they know who they are in that space.
Yes, that's it. And I've noticed that because I've got a couple of clients. I'm coach and I'm also licensed therapist, but usually I just say I'm a coach. But I do explain things to people. And what I've noticed is that people who are, for instance, in narcissistic relationships, so they get
Mm-hmm.
mentally abused, well, you can,
Right.
pretty much predict what's going to happen. They want to numb themselves. So from one beer, it goes to the next one, goes to a crate a day, goes to I don't know how many.
Right.
They need it the next day to feel good again because well, there are few people who can actually drink like a few dozen beers and feel good the next day. So so when they do, and of course there's always something related to addiction. You don't just get addicted for no reason. So when I talk to those people, I'll just keep one in mind. Um, the answer was, I know this person, and no, it's not ideal, but at least I'm not on my own. And and he did know that she, because of the habits they had together, he would be drinking more, and he
Mm-hmm.
knew that he was drinking to numb himself, so he didn't feel it. And then when I said, "Okay, so why don't you go away?" It was like, "Yeah, but that's I don't know what to expect, and I have to be on my own, and that's scary, scary."
So can I respond to that
Yeah, sure.
from being an addict? Um, I have this conversation with everybody about like you should, you need to, you could. It is so hard for somebody that's never dealt with an addiction to tell someone. It's like somebody who doesn't have a child telling somebody else how to raise theirs. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Intention is good. Everything somebody would say is correct, but it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And
Yes.
the majority of people that form addictions usually have some kind of childhood trauma or PTSD. That was my case. And time does not heal all things. It just keeps
No.
things bottled up, and eventually it's going to come out. And, addiction is nothing more than the manifestation of where someone is trying to escape or seek temporary pleasure or escape relief from something in a behavior that actually causes negative results over a long period of time, and yet they don't give up. And I said any behavior, because it's not just drugs or alcohol. It can be drugs and alcohol because that's the most common. It could
Yeah.
be
Cutting.
it could be food. It could be internet. It could be pornography, sex. It could be smoking. It's anything that you do for an immediate release or escape, but
Yes.
in the long run, it's going to cause negative consequences, but yet you don't give up, even though you should. So when someone
Yes.
says, "Hey, why don't you just go away?" Now, granted, they might need that, but there's probably over an 80% relapse rate with drugs and alcohol. Generalizing, but from my own experience, it's usually because somebody will go into a facility and they'll detox from the chemical. The body will detox relatively quick from the chemical dependency. But if you're not dealing with the psychological issues, the triggers that make you go do it, like I became a stress drinker. I did not drink or party. Mine became from business and long story. But so then when I would feel stress, I would immediately reach for it because I started keeping it in my office, in my car, different things like that. I started out social, taking clients out to lunches and dinners and happy hours, and then stress, and then you just buy and keep it. So even today, I still have there's a difference between a crave, an urge, and a crave. You could see something on TV. That's a crave. Like, wow, that looks good. A beer with a lime on a beach, or holidays, you see an advertisement for a flavored whiskey. The urge is when I feel stress, my natural response is to look for release, right? So I can tell you, like, I still get the urges, but I've learned how to deal with it and find coping skills. That's why I always have like a green tea or something close by that if I do, I have it and I reach for it. So the urges will always be there. But while you're detoxing off of a chemical or substance or internet, whatever it is, it's about developing healthy coping mechanisms so
Yes.
that when you identify it happening, you have something to go to. And the psychological work, in my opinion, is far more important than the chemical detox because that's what keeps you sober for the long term or, from the bad behavior. But there's such a stigma around mental health. And I love my therapist. And, I was diagnosed with bipolar depression. I'm medicated. I was recently diagnosed with severe combined presentation ADHD, and I medicate and mildly, and as well as severe childhood PTSD. But knowing that and getting that understanding of the psychological reasons and accepting the fact that it's not my fault the things that happen to me, where
Yes.
I think kids interpret the world in that narcissistic way where they believe everything is their fault and it's
Yes.
and it's my but now you come to realize, like, well, it's not my fault for the things that may have happened to me. um it may have helped shape who I was, but it doesn't define who I have to be.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that is another point of courage too, that you have to kind of accept the fact that while that happened, that is part of me. I can't deny it anymore, but I can move forward and just kind of keep that compartmentalized and
Hmm.
try to grow from it. So it's a very in depth, like that's my mission. That's my message. That's why I struggle doing the things we do, because it's so it's different from person to person. It's hard to create into a box and package it up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. So, before I can go to respond, Mariela, I don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
say it, Lunetta is jumping because she is in the midst of recovery. So I'm going to invite her in just a little bit. But yeah, I totally agree with you that you don't become an addict for no reason. There is
Right.
something which is causing it, whether it's growing up with narcissistic parents, being traumatized. By the way, you can become traumatized from that. It could be for other reasons too. So what I usually compare it to is like you want to turn that switch in your head. just to be quiet for a second, not think at all. Just,
It's like you said,
you know,
cutting. Cutting, it's usually to detach from other pain, but
yes,
you inflict it on yourself, almost like a
yes.
control thing. You hurt yourself so other people can't hurt you, but two wrongs don't make a right.
No, no, totally. I totally agree. So it's and that's what I like about the current trauma centers who work with recovering addicts. They say we're not going to treat the addiction unless we can also treat the trauma. So as a
Correct.
coach, um, I'm not the one who says you need to stop. I might say, do you realize you're an addict? But I primarily work with the problems that's causing the
Right.
addiction.
Right.
And I do have one question before we going to invite Mariela, and that's one of my clients, and actually there are several.
Hmm.
They say we don't believe in uh, stopping fully when it comes to drinking alcohol. Well, I'm in luck. I'm allergic to alcohol, and by the way, I also don't fancy alcohol. So I did use it when I had my first burnout in the previous century. I noticed that I had to turn on the television. Otherwise I wouldn't fall asleep. I would use Bailey, then the next one, and then the next
Hmm.
one. So at some point I knew something is not going the way it should. But of course, then people noticed that I had a burnout. I started yelling at just about anyone just for no reason. And I got out of the running. So then I got the necessary help, and I've had a few setbacks when it comes to burnout. But as for the drinking, I don't do it because literally in my head it goes dunk, 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 dunk. Well,
Right.
that's good enough reason not to do it because I don't have any pleasure when it goes.
Right.
But when it comes to kind of addiction, yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like the gaming, for instance. And hi, Terry. And it's the hyper focus. Just keep going
Hmm.
until. So yeah, I totally get it what you're saying. I have the big H from ADHD.
Hmm.
Yeah, you have a great day too, Terry, and you're always welcome. We are talking about courage, but first we're going to invite Mariela. So I know a little bit about those things too.
Yeah, it's real quick. People tend to treat the symptom rather than the cause. And
Yes,
when you said about stopping cold, that's individual. And of course, I would defer people to a doctor for their own medical. I was able to because when I hit my lowest, I mean, I contemplated my life, right? And when I decided and I hit that rock bottom that I needed help, I ended up getting on a medication. I got a shot every month, a neuro blocker. So I was able to stop cold. Um, I did go through withdrawals and shakes and sweats, but at that point I was so determined to beat it that I would get up at 3:30 in the morning and I would spend time stretching and reading and meditating and praying and I would get to the gym. So when you give up one addictive behavior, an addict will usually turn it towards something else, probably why I'm doing the triathlon.
yeah.
Um, but I just kept myself so focused on mind, body, spirit, health, business, relationships. And that's how I was able to get through it. And I realized if other people aren't able, if they're not at that point that they're so willing, like I'll do anything versus I don't want to be an alcoholic anymore. That's two different places. So like the guy this morning, he's not where I was. He's not willing to try those things. So he needed to go in to
Mhm.
detox and to get the counseling and to be secluded from it. So I think that journey is different for everybody. So I don't want to package it up and say that do I believe it's possible? Yeah, but I also believe certain people could have a really bad negative effect on their body. So that's a
Yeah,
question I would not give a definite answer to.
yeah. But what I think is most important is that people are aware
Hmm.
of the consequences of, say, drinking too much, smoking too much, because it affects the liver. It affects basically everything, and especially when you're smoking too, of course, when it comes to the lungs, all that stuff, your heart. It has such an immense impact. And what I tell the people is, listen, two things can happen. Either you're at the bottom and you might do whatever, or your health just gives in. And especially when people have teenagers, and usually, when those teenagers or when the kids become a little bit older, I've noticed that people expect to pick up their life the way it was before they had children. And of course, that doesn't happen, especially when you're not good at communicating. And
Right.
then they see their children grow up with all those dreams. And at some point, they're like, hey, but what about me? And what about my dream? And at that point, they feel like, I need to change my life, but I don't know how. Then we get back to courage. They try something, fail at it, and that's when everything goes haywire. But I do tell them, like, listen, you have kids, if they have kids, and you took a responsibility when you became a parent. And if you're going to say, my life is good enough, and if it's over and done with because my heart gives in, it's okay. And then I say, well, but how about your kids? You know?
Right.
And health, a lot of people don't appreciate their health. And when you're telling me that you're now doing the triathlon, hi, Angela, I can only applaud you. I mean, I know what it's like to grow up not having the perfect health, especially physically. So for me, it's not normal to do a number of things. Other people, I can run, I can just jump, I've got a lot of, just this, that says basically enough. I start the day sniffing and puffing. I'm an asthmatic. So for me, things which are normal for other people are not normal for me. And I had to switch a few times when looking at people and realizing that they are self-destructing. But then again, I also realize and understand why they are. So it's not like I'm judgmental, but I do tell them, look, this is what you're doing. And there's a point you might not be able to turn around to a healthy version of yourself. And that's why I'm so, yeah, when I look at you and you tell me that you just turned it around, well, not just, but you managed to turn it around.
Right.
I applaud you.
Thank you.
That's not easy. I know it's not easy. So,
Well, so for anybody, last, I know you want to change it. Accepting you have a problem is one thing, admitting it's another, but decide. Everyone says all the first steps to admit you have a problem. I completely disagree. The first step is you have to be able to look in the mirror at yourself and accept the fact that you have a problem that you can't manage on yourself. Then you admit it. Because I can admit something to you, but it doesn't mean I buy it, right? So if I
yes,
accept it in my heart and then I can admit it, the hardest, most courage that requires most courage is then you have to decide, am I willing to do whatever it's going to take to change my life? And then if you say yes, then I say the next step is then you have to think of what you want that life to look like, and you have to design the plan to get there, and then you have to execute and follow through and have accountability. That's kind of my own thing. So courage, this is very easy for me to weave courage into it, but that can apply to anybody with their life, admitting a shortfall, or just that maybe life's not the way that you want it to go, or you need to make some changes. To have to accept the fact that the way we've been doing is not working, and knowing that if we change course, people will observe it and realize, like, well, what you were doing won't. So that fear of judgment, it takes courage just to be an individual to do what's best for you without letting the fear of other people's judgment or criticism influence that decision.
yes, yes. And it's absolutely true. It's that fear of judgment. And
Right.
and that's what I noticed too. So one of my clients, I'm really on top of him, not literally, but you know what I get. Sounds so wrong. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So I actually picked him up a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it's life. I can appreciate it that you can have fun.
You don't know.
These
I
kind of
have
things.
one of the biggest sarcastic sense of humor you will ever meet. Like,
Yeah.
my sarcasm is often misinterpreted. So,
Yeah, yeah. So, so last year, September, October, I stayed there for a couple of weeks, and then like 3 weeks ago or something, I really picked him up and I said, okay, you need to come on the plane. You need to get away from this environment. Go with me to your normal country. So he lives in 2 different countries,
mhm.
depending on where he wants to be. Oh, Joe says she's dying here, and I know why she is. Um, she lost her mom just recently, and and yet last night we. Oh my God, I don't know if I want to say this. We
Why
had a
not? You're
lot.
on a roll.
Okay, well you're warned. So um, how I'm going to put this. Well, put it this way. She is posting all these pictures from an actor. He's called Jason Begay. That's why it's Jason Begay UK fan account. And right now, because she, her energy is very low, she's dealing with all the stuff surrounding her mom's death, who is also in another country, and she can't go see her. I said, okay, you know what? I am. I am going to take care for the next few days for as long as you need it, posting for you, and then you are the collaborator, and you can, so it gets continued. So here I was, and I have had created this little video which had to do with him standing at the hospital bed. Colleague had been shot, and he said, "Okay, the funny thing, when you catch a bullet or you catch lead, then you are allowed to choose where you actually want to go next." So don't ask me why, but I liked it was very sweet look, so I actually had edited and prolonged it for a while. And then at some point in my mind, don't ask me why, I was looking at a different episode, and this was about a lady who was strapped to a chair and she had a bomb tied to her back. And she was in like this cage with all these booby traps and all that stuff. Yeah, I'll be. Joe is like, oh my God, what are you going to say? Anyway, I'll try and make it not too. I'll take the blame myself, Joe. No worries. So I was listening to it, and it's kind of funny if if you don't know the context. So he's telling her to stay put, stay calm, stay on that chair, relax and breathe, and not to worry about anything at all. So I edited one under the other. And of course, you can hear, and he's reassuring her all the time, just stay put. And I warned you, this is going to be bad. so, so, so I sent her the picture or the video, and she said, "Oh, that's nice. Yeah, you can post it." And I said, "Well, have you actually listened to the sound? But because we were on WhatsApp, you can't hear the sound when you watch the video." So I said, "Okay, what we need to do is we need to hang up." So she hung up the phone, and then she listened to it. Of course, if you mix the two and you literally hear someone say, "Okay, at a girl, it's okay, just breathe, sit tight, don't move," and you see just him smiling, then you get a totally different vision of what was going on. so, so we were laughing our heads off last night when she saw it. Um, and I said, that's why I said I saw her, and I just had to. It's so funny when you don't know. So no, I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to continue on. Let's put it this way: there's a certain medium, and if you put it on there, they have the captions on there, and the captions didn't quite catch
Right,
what was said. So instead
right.
of "at a girl," it was, there's a girl right here, as in there have been multiple girls before you, and I was like, oh my God, what are people thinking? I'm not the person at all to, when someone is telling a dirty joke or anything, I'm like the one, and then they have to repeat it again and again, and then of course everyone is laughing because I'm just not wired that way. So for me to do this, that's very uncommon.
That's funny. That's funny.
So yeah, it's maybe if she agrees, I'll send you the link privately. It's really it's funny. So someone wants to join, of course. Mariela wants to join, and so I'm going to accept her invitation. And I think she's got a lot of things she wants to add to all the things. Hello there. Is it
I'm
Mariela or
so
Mariela?
sorry.
No, it's
I
okay.
guess I just came in by accident. I didn't. Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
No,
Hmm.
we
I
knew you
can.
were going to join.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's
No
okay.
need.
So you heard us speak. Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
I think she froze.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead.
okay. So I already saw a lot of responses, and of course, before I went live with Evan, you already said you wanted to go live, and then you heard what we were talking about, and I saw all those reactions from you, jumping
Yes,
to
yes.
give your own response. So did you heard Evan's story, right?
No, actually, to be honest with you, I didn't need. I thought you were. I apologize, Evan. Nice to meet you.
You too.
I thought Evan, it was the other Evan, but I'm so happy that it's okay because the funny thing is, this morning I did a video on courage on Facebook, and I was also talking about some of the courageous stuff that we are talking about. And one of the courageous things that I did came out and I did speak on, it was the topic that I did. I have been a previous drinker. Yes, my whole life has been alcohol. Alcohol has been since I've been almost like since I've been 4 years old. So it's been from four all the way, and I'm 41. So you can tell how many years of abuse has been done. Um, Through the years, I did have a lot of ups. I had a lot of downs. So me reacting to your, what you were saying, I took it very personal, and also they kind of hit me. So I was kind of happy that you guys were talking because I was up here kind of regrouping a little bit. Because I honestly with you, and this morning I posted my own video on courage, and before I even you answer me, lady Lexy, I was having my own little, reback on me analyzing what I post and also retaking on what I said, and which is the courage of being courageous to finally no, admit, I never said I was an alcoholic, but I honestly, today, this morning, before even you guys came in, I didn't even know you, Evan, and thank you for the story, and they inspire me, so I'm definitely will be following you, and
Thank you.
when you said, like, yes, you took the step to finally say no to it, honestly with you, it does take one extremely bad one for you to eventually say, no, I do not want to, I don't want to be drinking and continuing to do that. It took me a long time to do that. I did have a lot of phones, a lot. Like I can, it's like, and the last one that I had, it was like, my last fallout, and the one that I finally said no is like I personally I went and I ripped my daughter's picture. My daughter, I got two daughters. I got one 18 and I got one 4 year old. So my oldest one, I got in an argument with her. I had like a little bit too much of it. And actually, to be honest with you, I am saying I am a preemie because um, the last time I drank any alcohol has been It's about to be going almost like 4 weeks, a month. So
Good.
okay, I am a preemie. I'm a preemie, but going from me, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. This is going life, and it is the truth. My it's been so bad where my teenagers friends, my daughter's friends, have seen me naked. Okay, I said it. Yeah, it was that bad because I was like, and you just said a lot of times it becomes because of the traumas of all this stuff. If you have followed me or whatever, my story or the stuff that I've been going through, I have been numbing my pain, and usually, the best way you can numb it is by just numbing yourself. You think you are helping people, but you unfortunately, or like you think you helping them by numbing you and controlling you, but you end up being a bigger mess because you end up hurting the ones that you actually care for you. And honestly with you, I'm surprised my daughter is still with me because of out of all these years, she's 18. I'm thankful that, she could have built and been the same thing as I am, but she hasn't. So go ahead, Evan, if you want to speak up on anything.
Well, one, congratulations on 4 weeks. We definitely need to connect on our own. I
Yes,
think
please,
one
please,
of the
because I'm a preemie, and I don't want to relapse. Like I
yeah, no,
definitely want to. I have so many goals, and when you were saying you lost a lot of things and you did a lot of stupidity, I've been on the top and I've been on the low, and
the most important thing to work on, and it's hard. Like I can tell you, the one thing that I have not been able to do, like I have not been able to reconcile within myself to forgive myself yet because I have so much guilt about what I did. And I know the logical side, the philosophical side, even the religious, spiritual side. Like I understand that, but knowing and being able to do are two different things. So that's okay.
yeah.
But what I did learn when people say like, "Oh, don't drink because you don't want to hurt your kids. Don't drink." Well, of course we don't want to hurt our kids. We don't want to do anything to
No.
anybody else. We're doing it for ourselves. But I say, like, you can't give away what you don't have. So if you don't love yourself, you're not capable to love other people. If you have bad finances, you can't give financial advice to someone else. If you're not healthy, you can't give health advice unless you became unhealthy from a disease or something, and then you can.
Yeah.
So self-care and self-love is the first priority every day. And that's difficult because, in recovery and sobriety, it's just about focusing on what can I do today. All the other stuff
Yes.
is going to be there. So yesterday, you
And
can't
it's
change
hard
yesterday.
though.
It's
Right, but
that one first step.
right, you have today. Like yesterday's gone, so don't waste today regretting yesterday. And you have no guarantee that you're going to wake up tomorrow either. So don't regret yesterday and don't worry about tomorrow. So if the only thing you can do today to not drink is like, you know what, I'm going to read a book, I'm going to exercise, and I'm going to call a friend. Well, that's all you can
And
do
I love
today.
the cup right there that you had.
Yeah. And then
Beautiful.
when
Okay.
you wake up tomorrow, you do the same thing. So it truly is just figure out what are the 3 or 4 or 5 things I need to do and can do today, and just focus on holding yourself accountable to that, whatever that might be for you. And I'll share some of mine, we connect after. But
Yes, I
no,
definitely
you
will
don't
gonna
say
follow you.
I'm only 4 weeks or I'm a preemie. Stop saying that. You're sober, you're not drinking, and tomorrow's another day of sobriety. So stop trying to quantify it by saying, "Oh, I'm newly sober." No, you're sober because you're not drinking, number one. And medically speaking, it takes between 5 and 10 days for the body to chemically detox. So your body's
Yeah.
detoxed. Now it's just working on this and this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would actually say that, you know, being a preemie, having taken those first steps, that's maybe one of the hardest things.
Hmm.
I will say that, of course, there's always, you have to make the choice like every day, again and again. It doesn't stop, that urge.
Every
Like,
minute. Every minute.
yes,
That's like psychologically
yeah.
invented. If it's
But
in
you
your,
did it. You did it. So you know you
yeah,
can
yeah,
do it.
I've been trying. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. This has been actually the hardest challenge because anybody that know me, they know me as that's all it is. I'm very smart and I'm very and everywhere. But anybody that will know me they know for who I am, not from what I'm becoming. And that right there, I always, it's like,
Someone called me for a sec.
it's like, it's like that's the courage that you have to be like, yeah, I know I am. Oh, they know.
Boy,
I
could we
Yes,
have
I was working naked. You know what I'm saying? Like I was doing all of that, but you know what I'm saying? Like it was like something I
we
was not
really
trying
need
to
to have
like
that
hold them,
conversation.
but I end up embarrassing myself.
Yeah.
So
So I'm going to
well,
interrupt the two of you for a second. I don't
sure.
know if you've read the comments. It's being said to
I don't
you,
have my
No, we
well
glasses on,
done.
so I
didn't.
can't see
I'm
them.
so sorry.
Okay, it's being said, well done. You're very brave and keep strong. And the next one is that will take time forgiving yourself. You're so honest. That's a
Yeah.
great step forward. And very brave lady speaking out. And that applies to all of you. Because this is the thing, and I don't know if you know,
It's a hard topic
yeah. So on
to speak
Wednesday,
on.
I have this show about speaking out, and I also address
Yeah.
topics like this, like addiction and numbing yourself. And the reason I do is because
Yeah.
people keep to themselves, they don't share it, and I think they are the only ones who are traumatized, who don't feel good about themselves. And when they realize that they're not the only ones who have experienced, whether it's physical or mental abuse or whatever it is,
Hmm.
what led to them wanting to just, switch that thing off in your mind, just rest for a while and then turn it back on again. Of course, that can be done, but that's basically what people are looking for when they're trying to numb themselves, not feel
Yeah.
the pain, not
It's
feel that
escape.
No.
emotion.
It's of
It's
course, and
escape.
not only that, the thing is maybe I'm speaking on it, but to be honest with you, like 95% of our country suffers from addiction.
Hmm.
Yes.
Where are
And
you?
like you were saying, huh?
Where are
I'm
you?
Ecuadorian,
Oh,
but my
okay.
wig is my wig is American. No, because I've been so stressed out. I didn't lose my hair, so I got short hair. But I gotta look cute too.
Well, for a month
Yeah,
for a month in, we do need to connect. And I can tell you from anybody in the sober community and recovery, like be proud. Like I'm proud of you. Anybody else in recovery will be proud. There's a whole community
yeah.
out there. I still have people that I talk to as well. I mean, for my own,
Hmm.
and embracing a community and accepting the flaws and the faults and the mistakes. It's okay. Like
Hmm.
nobody's perfect. If somebody's going to judge you, that's just because they're trying to deflect their own flaws away. So
Yeah.
those days are done. And if the most you can do tomorrow is just get out of bed and not drink, then so be it.
That's that,
And
and
then if
then
you can,
that's crazy.
That's
it
huge.
It's
yeah.
huge.
So
It's alcoholic. It's not a joke. It really is
no,
not. It's not only like you were talking about the alcohol, but then you are facing the trauma. You are facing with unemployment. You are facing with with everything
You
tragedy.
can
I
basically lose
had
everything. You
yes,
can lose
like
not only
gun
your
violence.
children and your
I'm going
partners.
through a lot because of all the
Yeah.
stuff I'm going through. But before I start, I just want to tell you, I'm pretty sure you know, but I don't know if this book, but the book, The Angry Heart, I'm pretty sure The Angry Heart is like a that's when I was when back in when I was 14, they put me in the institute, because I had to recover and go through
mhm.
that stuff back at there, therapy and relapse, whatever. But the Angry Heart is one of the books that definitely you need to look at it because that one right there, that book right there, it helps out. And I'm just letting you know because it's from
Yeah.
experience. That helps out and it gives you like the steps of because
I
I'm personally a self recovery kind of person. Like
right.
I started myself. You
I can
know,
tell you that that's one of the things
yes,
that, and I have another one over there. I was
that's
reading a
great.
book. I was reading a book a week as part of my get sober nonfiction,
Look.
motivation, inspiration. Yeah. So
Yeah, I keep myself busy. I'm trying to be proactive, not be like, hey, there she goes, there she goes. You know who she is.
re-
And
reach
it's
out.
been my whole life that way.
Yeah, just reach out. I mean, because there's more people willing to help and embrace, and that's something that the more I'll be 5 years sober, August 28th, And
Oh,
the
Wow.
further
nice.
the further I go,
Congratulations.
thank you. The further I go, the more I realize how big this community is. Realizing
And we
friends and
need
clients.
that.
When when you are one, you can see them a mile away. And it takes an addict to know an addict. Um, and then having a community where you can talk to people that really understand you, that have gone through what you have and have been through and can understand. So when I talk to people, I'm like, you can't BS me because I've been there. So I know what you're going to say, what you're going to do, what you've done. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'll tell
What's
And
people
the
like,
that's it,
plan?
I,
You know?
honesty. It's the
yeah,
honesty
Yeah.
that are you willing to admit what you've done? And a lot of
It took me a long
people,
time.
when they fell off the wagon or fallen off the wagon, they don't dare to admit it. And I'm like, just say it, then we know where you're standing. So
right.
Yeah.
someone says here that reading really helps to relax the
Mhm.
mind, and also to the both of you, congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
same here.
It's
I'm
hard.
saying the same thing. Well done. Um, yeah, I can't say anything else, and I'm
And thank you,
so
lady, for
you
bringing me
too,
in.
Lexi.
Thank you so much for bringing me in, and thank you, Evan. It was nice meeting you, and I will,
You too.
if you don't mind, if we can get in touch. I
Sure.
definitely will follow you, and it's yes, I will take the support because yes, I want to continue. I want to make my kids proud, make myself proud, my family proud. You know.
Yeah, hopefully you can join me on the show I
I
have
will.
on
I will.
Wednesdays.
When you have it, just send me if
I
it is
have it
something
every
because
week.
I'm
It's
so busy that
it's
I am
every
so
week
busy
on
that
7 p.m. Eastern.
But I'm happy I took this time and I'm happy that I stick it out and I listened to you, lady. And today was my day to be courageous enough to tell the
Good.
world that you have a problem and you had a problem and you tried to work on it. So thank you for that, and I appreciate. Today was a wonderful day. Thank you so much. I appreciate. And Evan, thank you. I appreciate that for that.
You're welcome.
Well,
And good job. We'll talk.
thank you for being this
Yeah, thank
courageous.
you.
I know a lot of people don't have when we come to courage. Don't dare to speak out about it and tell them and share the world because they make themselves vulnerable. You make yourself
Yeah.
vulnerable the moment you do. So here said, oh, bless you, sweetheart. Keep doing what you're doing. You are really courageous.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for that. It's just like this was topic, and I was like me because I just spoke on it, and honestly with you, I always say I'm not crying.
Oh, your sound. I don't hear you anymore. Mariela? Evan, do you still hear her?
It helps out.
Oh,
Uh, uh,
yeah, sound went in and out.
But
Mariela,
yes, so
the
I know you guys are busy. So
yeah, I
okay.
can't hear.
Yeah, it's going in and out.
yes,
So your sound is going in and out.
because
Yeah, it's still going in and out.
sorry about that. Ayana, call your boyfriend. Call your boyfriend. My kids is calling me. Her boyfriend is calling me. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Her
Okay.
boyfriend,
We'll
my
talk to
daughter's
you again
boyfriend.
soon.
But I'm sorry. But go ahead. But but thank you so much.
And it's also said, Evan, you are one inspiration talking about it, and you are helping so many such
Hmm.
brave men,
Thank you.
and that's
thank
that's
you.
true. That's true. So, Mariela, if you want to go, please do.
Yes, I am.
Um,
Okay, and Evan,
yeah.
my thing is right there. It's Mariela Lunetta, and just follow me if you can, Evan. And
Okay.
whenever you get a chance, you don't have to be today. I will
I
I'll
will.
connect
definitely
the
I
two
will.
of
will.
you.
Thank you
No
so much.
Yeah.
worries.
Thank you,
Yeah.
lady. Thank you.
All
I
right.
appreciate you, lady. Bye bye, Evan. Bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Wow, that was unexpected, and I was inclined to say that's an unexpected treat, but the reason why is, of course, is not that joyful. But the fact that she actually, it's funny because yesterday with other Evans broadcast, we were talking like, okay, let's connect, let's do a live. And so just before we went live, she reached out to me and she was like, oh, when do you want to go on live? So I said, well, I'm going to go live with Evan Tinstman. So maybe you can join later on. And now it just, it seems to be the way it needed to be.
Right.
And yeah, so 5 years. Wow.
Yeah,
So,
it's been long. It's it feels like forever, but it seems like yesterday.
yes.
And I still have days. I still have days that I struggle, but I've only had a few really hard days, but for the most part, we're good.
Yeah. So what do you do? Moments that it's really hard. What do you have like a full back plan? Other things you can focus on? People you can call?
Um, there's a few people that I have. I don't really get to that point that I need to call somebody. Now it's more about distract or not distraction, redirect. When I
Mm-hmm.
feel something, I can at least identify it. And then I can, where before I didn't have that filter, like you get mad, you get stressed, you get angry, you look for that release, grab a bottle, go do something stupid or whatever. Now, if I'm feeling it, I'm like, all right, we got to take a minute. I'll walk my doors to my offices 5 feet there. I'll go walk up and down the sidewalk, or, I'll just kind of distract myself a little bit. And because of the ADHD, I don't sit well anyway. So I'm constantly, my staff makes fun because like I go a million miles an hour back and forth. But like,
Yes.
this is the longest I've sat in probably 2 days. Like even working, I'm always pacing and walking. So when I feel it, I'm usually pretty good at distracting myself. But where I struggle because of the ADHD is when I got to bring myself back in and start concentrating on work again. And that becomes frustrating when I don't get the work done. So I have to break that cycle because it used to be, they were treating the symptom, not the cause. So, you get frustrated because you're not getting results. And then because you don't see it, then you drink to feel better. But now you're compounding today's problems, then tomorrow comes. So even when I get distracted or, have a rough day and I have to redirect, well, then once I get my composure, then I have to try to refocus and get back into my routine of work or whatever I need to do. Because I know that if I don't get those results, I'm going to be in a bad place. But for me, my anchor has become physical activity like gym. So even
Mm-hmm.
if I have the worst day possible, I know that I can at least get on a treadmill and I can run for an hour. What's unhealthy that I realize is because every day for an addict, even in recovery, you still have those demons and they're always like just right under your skin. And
Mm-hmm.
when I'm out on the road on my bike or I'm on a treadmill, it's usually after about 10 minutes. It's almost like I'll have these periods of time where like I'll kind of black out my mind and all these things start coming up inside, almost like anger, rage.
Mm-hmm.
I guess rage and anger would be the most. And next thing I know, like it'll be 20 minutes on a treadmill and I don't remember like, oh, well, I just ran 2.5 miles and didn't even, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
having that as my anchor, that physical outlet to get some of that dopamine, serotonin, whatever, just that physical release to get that angst out. That's when I'm having a really bad day. I know I can at least do that to get a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
self-control.
That's good.
And
That's good. So, Joe said, amazing 5 years. I know mine is
thank you.
not an addiction, but I hope I get the courage and confidence like that back one day. So she's severely traumatized. She lost her husband almost 2 years ago due to
Wow,
corona. So she hasn't
I'm sorry.
slept more like 3 hours a night ever since this week. She first um, got what do you call it? Therapy for it, and of course her mom died, and she got corona herself not too long ago, and then she had to go to the hospital, and of course that's where all the trauma started. Because back in the day, 2 years ago, I don't know if you know it, when you had COVID, family wasn't allowed to see you, so she
Right.
wasn't allowed to go inside. And then when she knew he was going to pass away, she was granted 10 minutes in the room with him.
Whoa.
So when he passed away, she wasn't there, but she knew he was going to pass away. Her children weren't there; they were not allowed to be there. So her nightmare is about looking through the window and see that one teardrop going down his face. So then when she had corona herself not too long ago, she suddenly had to go to that hospital on her own because you're not allowed to take people with you, especially when you're still positive. And
Hmm.
so we talked a lot during that time. So because I could realize that it was totally understandable that she got these panic attacks and all that stuff. Um, so and then on top of it, her mom died. So part of me is like, okay, it might help you, but it's not
You,
easy. It's
let
hard, all
me.
of this.
This is going to sound very, very like not superficial. Like someone be like, "Oh, really?" I hired a nutritionist almost 2 years ago, and just because I'm really concerned about my health, my liver, stuff like that, and to train for this race. But it really started out more about health. I want to be as good as I can, and I don't sleep. Like I've never slept. Like if a good night for me, like a lot of sleep for me is if I get like 4 to 5 hours consecutively. Like I tell people like I nap, I don't sleep. But now
Is
I've
that because
started to, I don't
is
know. I just never really did. But now it's kind of getting better. And my nutritionist, and again for her, to whatever one's capacity is, he's like, try to do your physical activity, exercise. It doesn't have to like go run. If it's do it early in the morning because it kind of gets your mind going, gets the dopamine, serotonin, so it kind of helps you approach the day. He's like, at the very least, for me, he's like, drink your at least your 128 ounces, like a gallon of water a day. He's like, because when you're really hydrated, he's like, you flush the toxins. The water is actually what carries the nutrients through your body to your muscles. So how we feel on the inside is how we look on the outside for the most part. And it's little things like that. And he's like, drink a little lemon in your water to detox the digestive. And he always says, and it's crazy because he tells me, like, don't eat sugars after 1 p.m., like no fruits after 1 p.m. because your body won't metabolize it. That can interrupt your sleep. You can have as many vegetables as you want. And he's like, don't eat food after like 6:30 if you can. That way your digestion's not working at night. But he says, no matter how bad you screw up a day, 20 minutes before you go to bed, you drink one scoop of a whey protein and 8 ounces of water at night, not during the day, but it hydrates you and it refuels you through the night and it keeps your metabolism going and you'll net burn like another 300 to 400 calories through the night. So the simple thing is like go for a walk in the morning, drink a gallon of water with a little bit of lemon here and there. Don't eat sugar after 1 o'clock and get a whey protein shake in you. And that can actually start to help the sleep cycle because if you're using that physical exertion in the morning, by the evening, you're kind of done. Where a lot of people say, well, let me go exercise or run or walk, myself included, in the evening, but that gets everything going, everything pumping, the adrenaline's going, which makes it harder to shut down. So then, you shut off the electronics, the TV, the whatever, and you start it, put yourself to bed at 10 o'clock. And even if you lay there for a few nights staring at the ceiling, start developing that habit. But just from a health standpoint, like those are very simple, easy ways to just
yes.
start implementing now.
Yeah, I heard from someone else too who said it's the protein which is so important to get back to health again. So I already told her myself that she needed to watch her protein, drink not just water but also something substantial because you need the carbs because she's passing out now every now and then. So
Celery
that's
juice. I drink celery juice because it's a
mhm.
natural detox for your liver. I just had it before we came on. I drink it one every day, but it's one of the
Okay.
best sources of natural carbohydrates.
I
And it
didn't know.
detoxes your liver, your kidneys, your colon, and it's packed with natural carbohydrates. So celery juice is phenomenal.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I love talking about these things. For me, it's a little bit different, and that's probably a blessing in disguise. Um, when I work out and I do it in the morning, then a couple of hours later, I will fall asleep.
Hmm.
So, and that's a big issue for me at some point because I used to work out, and at some point I didn't get those serotonins anymore. The endorphins didn't come. So I didn't feel good anymore, and I do feel good when I work out, and I'm like a little
Right.
bit shaking a little bit, and then when I go, I can sleep immediately. That's the way it works, and
Hmm.
my system is in a way that because I'm constantly learning new things. I mean, it's the third time I'm learning to walk again in my life.
Wow.
I had a ripped muscle a couple of decades ago, and of course, because of my ankle, it took me 7 years before I finally was able. Well, I've been able to walk now without crutches for 2 or 3 months, and we are talking about something that happened July 31st, 2014. But they didn't believe me. So
Hmm.
that's why I needed to learn to speak up, say, you don't get it, but this is what's happening. These are my symptoms. I had to get back and back and back and get to it again. But as a result, things which are normal for other people, like I said, they're not normal for me. So whenever I've been to the physical therapist, that mind needs readjusting. And that's also when we learn a lot, of course. When we learn a lot,
Hmm.
that's when we get tired and we want to sleep because the brain needs to process it. And that's the same in my case. So, but I do love all the things you're saying about, getting up, being careful with sugars, the detoxing, the way to do it. So yeah, I totally am on board with what you're saying. So we are on live now for an hour and 50 minutes, and
Or fast.
I'm known to go live a long time. But I don't know about your plans. I do know that in about half an hour max, I need to go pick someone up.
Yeah, no,
So
I still have some work I have to get done. So yeah.
yeah, I already thought so. But are there some last words you would like to say when it comes to courage and what we've discussed?
Um, Not to think too much about it. Like when you know what you want to do, and I'm trying to like stay away from addiction, but it's hard for me to detach that because it's so much part of my fiber. Um, Again, I think the most courageous thing somebody could do is make a decision that they feel is the best decision for them without trying to please or win the approval of other people or having that fear of judgment from other people. Because in the end, like you get one life, it's yours, and you have to make the decision that is best for you. Because at the end of the day, most of those people aren't going to handle your problems or pay your bills or deal with whatever. So, we still have to be responsible to our own life and those that depend on us.
Yes.
And sometimes that means you have to say no to people. And sometimes that means you might have to remove some people out of your life, or give up something. Because sometimes to get something new, you have to give up something old, and that's hard to do. That fear of change, fear of failure, fear of rejection. But don't underestimate your own talents and abilities. Make a decision, own it, move forward. There's no right or wrong. There's just forward progress. And if you make a mistake, learn from it, and don't do it again.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
And you're never.
And
And
it's so true.
last thing, this is where I say you're never too old, and it's never too late to start over.
Oh, totally, totally agree with that one. So decide what is best for you. Yeah, a lot of people they don't realize that their surroundings might be not well, maybe they are the cause, but they're certainly um, not helping them to get away from the addiction or whatever it is. And they may say we are there for you, but when it comes down to it, question is, are they really? And what's happening when you are surrounded by certain people? What are they telling you to do? Are they telling you you're worth nothing? I mean, if you hear it day in, day out, that's not going to work. Or,
You know the hardest question that people don't answer?
hmm,
What do I want? Like,
yeah,
when is the last time you sat down and truly said, what do I want? What do I
Yeah.
want my life to be like? What do I want to be doing? And what do I have to do to get it, to be it, to do it, whatever? And I think if people would just start with that, whether it's get sober, change jobs, change, get out of a relationship, whatever. But until you answer that question of like, what do I want?
Yes.
You can't really take a first step because you don't know what you're taking a step towards.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And this is the hardest thing because I'm on the outside. I can pretty much already say, oh, this is what you want because I've been listening. And especially when I know people for a longer period of time, I can literally go back in time and say, okay, do you remember when you said this, that, and the other? So, but between me knowing and then getting the other one to actually figure it out, all I can do is ask questions like, okay, how are you feeling? Is this good for you? What's happening right now? So make them aware of what's going on in their
Right,
minds and how they are
right,
reacting to it. What happens if others talk to them or lash out or whatever it is, and help them understand what's going on. I think that's the first thing that they need to understand. So I don't know if you read that post I wrote yesterday on courage. I'm not sure. I think in one post I actually said, are you using courage as an excuse not to do something? And you basically started a little bit along those lines, as in, yeah, what's courage actually? Because that's such an important question. Is courage because of fear? Is it because you are judging yourself? Are you afraid others will judge you? Is it simply easier to say, this is what I know, so I'm just going to continue on? There's so many things involved when it comes to courage. So,
right. I agree.
yeah.
One day at a
Um,
time.
one day at a time, and that's what I wrote down too, one step at a time. So my advice was, um, right, make sure that you know about it. So talk to your, what did I say? I didn't say talk to yourself, but it is about a realization. I did say talk to others, so you can just get a better understanding of what's going on. Share it with others because that makes you more vulnerable, but there's also more accountability involved. And of course, one step at a time and celebrate because things are not easy. And I know, I know for some of those things what it's like when you talked about becoming restless. I know that feeling too. So I've got this pressure cooker, and it,
Yep.
it it goes from one to two to three, and from three on it goes, and then the lid is off. So there's no three to
You,
10. It's just
you know
haywire.
I think the single most important word to come out of this conversation you just said is vulnerability. It's
Yes.
probably the hardest thing, skill, whatever you want to call it, for a human to develop. And
Yes.
for me, from a courage standpoint, I had so much fear of being judged when I was getting sober. I mean, I own a business. I come from two well-known families. My grandfather was a doctor. Like people know me, and I'm a customer service business. And I didn't want that stigma of like, well, don't do business with Evan because he might relapse, or, oh, did you know he did this? And I always lived in that fear of judgment and rejection. And then one day I just had enough and said, you know what? This is what I did. It's not who I am. So I became very vocal of like, you know what? I did do A, B, C, D, and E. I recognized it. I apologized for it. And I did what I had to do to get better. And if you have a problem with me, there's 7.5 billion other people on the planet. I don't need you in my life. So I made myself vulnerable by going public and, talking about my addiction and the self-destructive behaviors and the damage that I caused to myself and others. But now you can't hold it against me. You can't go talk behind my back because I'm saying it to your face.
Yes.
And
True.
that's vulnerability. And whatever that is in somebody's life, when you just own it as that's who I am, that's the most courageous thing you could do. Just accept yourself for who you are and then
Yes.
figure out what you need to do for you to move in the direction that you want to go.
Yes,
Period.
yes.
End of
It's
story.
the acceptance for yourself. And I will add one thing to it. know that you're okay. We are all human. We all make mistakes, but it doesn't mean you're not good enough. And I believe that's one of the things people need to hear. You are good enough.
Right. Right.
So,
So if anybody that might be there has questions, particularly around addiction, anxiety, depression, feel free to reach out to me. I'll share anything that you might want to know privately, or publicly, whatever you're comfortable with. And if you have anybody in your life that is suffering, I always say if you think you have a problem, you do with anything. And if you do have people around you that are suffering and they're causing damage to you or they're hurting you, just know that it's not on purpose. It's not intentional, because it goes back to, like I said, it's hard to give away what you don't have. So it's hard for
yeah,
them to love and appreciate you if they can't love and appreciate themselves. So it's not by choice. So
yeah,
unfortunately, if you're on the receiving end of having a friend or family member that is suffering from addiction, if you truly want to help them, then unfortunately, you're probably going to have to be a punching bag for a little bit, until they can start getting things under control. But, we're not our disease. We're not our addiction. I say that when you're suffering from addiction, I say it is simply a soul that is trapped in a body that's fighting to live and a mind that wants to die. That's what addiction
oh,
is.
that's wonderful. I love that. I love that. Okay, I need to go.
So,
People have been calling me, so
yep.
every time I went
Yeah, I didn't
away,
intend to go.
that's
I didn't intend to go. I didn't intend to go this long either. So thank you so much for having
yeah,
me,
but
and
I'm
then
so
we'll connect for your
grateful.
Wednesday. And yes,
I'm so
so
grateful. And if you want to come on the shows on Wednesday, also for other people
absolutely.
watching, it's there. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, and you can find me on YouTube. Lady Lexi's Live on the Road. I use StreamYard and it's on Facebook too. Because I sincerely believe the more people talk about it, the more people know they're not alone, and it's easier to
Right,
show their vulnerability.
right,
And it's like you said, once you get in front of it and you already have said it's like this, they can't
exactly,
put you down anymore.
exactly.
So
Awesome, good talking,
thank you
and
so much.
yeah, much love to you and everybody that stuck around and watched, and I
Yes,
appreciate everyone's time. Thanks.
exactly. So big hugs for everyone and for you especially.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.